Devil, my friend, cheers to books. Cheers to being return guests. Cheers to kind of feeling in demand, my friend, because a very cordial invitation came back our way from V&D alumnus Harry Carpenter of the Fright Reads Book Festival. We covered Fright Reads last year during our first season. Harry came on the show to talk about Halfway to Halloween, which we were just a part of. So let's talk about it, my friend. Very, very cool little thing. Much more intimate than the regular Fright Reads Festival is. This one was at Marley Station Mall, which I'd actually never been to. Been familiar with it forever, but I'd never actually been there. But it was a very, very interesting design. Like this festival in a mall, which had like a portion of the walkway designed for vendors and like displays. And then you had a couple like little side rooms that were dedicated to the panel and a couple of the celebrities. And I use the term loosely when it comes to celebrities. Like, don't get me wrong, our friend Chris was there. He's very established. He's absolutely awesome. But I just mean in the sense of the cons that our Fangs and Infernos are going to be more familiar with us doing. They're going to think of, the people like the people that played Jason or like the people that, are final girls and stuff like that. But yeah, they did still have some featured, guests that they used in this room. And overall, man, I thought it was a really enjoyable experience. It was very chill, like I said, very intimate, but I thought it was really cool, man. I had a good time.
Yeah, it was pretty cool being in, like I said, in the mall, especially because, if people who aren't familiar with Marley Station Mall, it's pretty much almost a dead mall now. It's pretty much like maybe like 10 stores left in the place. Like most of the stores are all like barred up and shut up and stuff like that. I was walking around with our friends of Kid Dreadful and Mama Dreadful and Daddy Dreadful. And, we were talking about like, oh my God, it'd be so cool to like, we're gonna try to see if we can contact who runs the mall to see if we can go in there for some cool photo shots and stuff like that with the
Yeah.
kid all dressed up like a zombie and stuff like that. But it was pretty cool because you saw like people coming in, people at the mall. Because like I said, it's a fully, not a fully functional mall, but it's still a mall that serves, a few little things. So people go in there. So they were kind of checking it out at far. And like I said, it was a cool little event. And I like I said, we both had to work and we got in there a little bit later in the
Yeah.
day. And by the time I got there, it was about like 2:30, 2:45. And as I was getting in, Harry let us know that the person that just paid to come in, they tied their record from last year for sales. So we already knew that if as long as anybody else comes in after that, they were already going to beat their record. So that was kind of cool. And like I said, it was a cheap, I think it was like $8 to get in or something, like eight
Right.
to $10 to get in. And like I said, they had like, some of the vendors that we've always see at Fright Reads and other cons. And then, like I said, they had panels. Our buddy D,
Yep.
screaming Mad D came in and did a little panel about werewolves. And he had his books and stuff like that for sale. And, like I said, our buddy Chris was there promoting,
Yep.
promoting movies. They actually played two movies during the festival in the morning. They played Chris's Streak Show, and then they played another movie. I just can't remember off the top of my hand, but I know it was a friend of yours that we were
Yeah,
talking to.
it was Blood and Breakfast.
Yeah, Blood and Breakfast. Yeah.
Matt Burns' movie.
Yeah, so that was kind of cool, like being able to do that and see that, and like I just said, go in. It was, like I said, it wasn't like the, like the regular Fright Reads and like the Fright Reads it's going to be in September now, because I mean, even that Bentville one we went to last year was a decent size, so this is smaller. I can't wait to see, when we get to the one in September, because that's going to be at a big, huge, giant, freaking huge building that from a fairground. So it's gonna be
Freaking
insane.
hooker.
We were joking around with Harry saying he's probably gonna need like like a golf cart or something like that to get from one side to the other side constantly all the time. But yeah, it was a really cool event. Like I said, had some cool vendors. People that we knew, people we haven't seen before, and just like I said, it was a cool little event. Just like just a kind of little pop up for the mall. Just be like, hey man, things. Talking about that kind of stuff, promoting. Obviously promoting the big event in September. But yeah, like I said, I thought it was a cool little event. Like you said, it was just cool to be able to go in. Like I said, in this mall that was kind of like a dead mall in certain areas, man. It was like very, on brand for fright book festival, horror kind of sign, like very apocalyptic, zombie mall and stuff like that. So yeah, I thought it was a pretty cool event, you know what I mean. I thought it was spaced well, you know what I mean, and it had that little area that was pretty cool that you could just go in, and like I said, it was a very, very more intimate version of what Fright Reads normally is.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it was cool, and I liked it. I liked it that way, where it's kind of like an appetizer, kind of a tease, kind of a thing, but in like a good way. Like you said, Devil, it was only, $6, $8 or whatever it was to get in. So for less than $10, you get to come to this thing. And it's designed to not be flashy and over the top. And that's what I think also kind of played well to Harry's design is the fact that, he's not spending all this money to bring in major celebs, that he's going to have to pay. So then the ticket sales become that much more vital. This is very chill. Anybody can come to it, and it's not going to take a lot for him, to get into the black. And yeah, you're definitely right on that. The mall is cool. Yeah, it's definitely got that Dawn of the Dead feel to it, and yeah, just really, really cool. Like cool vendors, of course, shout out to our buddy Chris O'Braki. Shout out to Matt Burns. It was great to get to see them talk movies. We had a great time, talking with Chris when we did our interview, which not only the Fangs and Infernos are going to get to see during this review, they'll also be able to watch it specifically if they want to. And, is the fact that we interviewed him for the first time at the first Fright Reads, and he was there promoting Shriek Show because that was the new one, but he
Oh,
was
Raccoon.
I mean he was there promoting Krakoon because that was the movie coming out, but we were talking and concentrating on like on a Shriek Show. But then now Krakoon is out, won an award at the Independent Film Festival, but they were showing Shriek Show and basically more or less promoting that movie as opposed to the current movie. It was just super duper backwards. But I mean, we love Chris, and that's our homie. So it was super cool to get to see him. Of course, Screaming Mad D was there, and that was always awesome to see him. His panel was awesome, and it's always great to do a little shopping. And I got a copy of his werewolf book, and I know Mrs. Devil got caught up on all of her like books and stuff like that, and we had a great time with that. Shout out to one of my favorite authors where I was finally able um to get some of her stuff. But there's our buddy Screaming Mad D Lumen,
The
his
Lumen
new werewolf
book.
book. But also these are just the two that I grabbed. But shout out to Jenny Allen, who does a series of great vampire novels that I've been wanting to get my hands on to read and enjoy and have like a good time with. So I was really happy to pick up her whole catalog. And she also let me know that I'm now excited about when it comes to September is she's going to be there, but her next book in the series comes out in August. So she'll have the new book of this for the series at the next Fright Reads. So that's very, very cool. Also, shout out to our other buddy Chris from Layered by Layered 3D Printing. He was there. So it was really cool to talk to him for a little bit. And also, shout out to our beloved friends from various cons that we do that keep us supplied in tea and awesome fudge and all kinds of like knickknacks and cool stuff. So it was really, really awesome getting to see our family when it came to that. But yeah, man, overall, like, I just think it was a good time. It was very chill. It was very low maintenance. You came out, had a good time. You either shopped or you didn't, but you didn't have to worry about, like, man, I paid all this money for an admission ticket, but nothing there spoke to me. There was a lot of things that were there that could speak to you, but even if they didn't, and you ended up just leaving when you were done, like I said, you only spent less than $10 to get in the door. So it was just really cool to support a great guy, a great cause, a really, really cool situation like that. And I mean, like I said, we knew that Chris was there, so it was also great to pick up a few more of his movies that I didn't have yet. Running in, seeing my buddy Matt, like I said, who was promoting Blood and Breakfast and getting that movie because Devil, you and I have talked about this because, like, one of the things I'm trying to be a little bit more cognizant of when we do cons in general, whether we're working or not, is I really want to start paying more attention to, like, the independent filmmakers, meeting the kind of people that are going to be the potential next great wave in horror. Terrifier is a great example of that. You and I are OGs when it comes to Terrifier. We're both Ninth Circle, like all Hallows Eve, like Terrifier when it was still Kickstarter, Terrifier people. And while that movie is so awesome, you never could have imagined that that first Terrifier movie is then going to turn into what kind of feels like $1 billion franchise. So that's one thing I really love about these type of festivals and conventions, where not only is this one, of course, specifically catering to horror novelists, which I think is great, but still has the ability for independent filmmakers to feel represented, to feel like they're a thing, and be a focus. Where the big cons, of course, independent filmmakers can kind of get lost in the shuffle because people are there for the Robert Englunds, the Kane Hodders, the this and that. And then how much time is left in the con to look around for cool things. I like something like this where if you're into books, you can still look at books, but if you're just into horrorness, it's a very, very cool ability to be able to go out and about and check things out and hang and find cool new things.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the cool thing about too about the book fest is it's not, especially with the way Harry does. I know it's, because his stuff and is primarily into that horror and stuff like that, but it's not strictly just a horror book, festival. That's why he kind of kind of does that Halloween kind of festival-ish where it's kind of everything, sci-fi's in there, fantasies in there. There's people who do romance novels maybe and stuff like that. So it's a little bit of everything for everybody as far as it goes. The books, most of them tend to usually be horror or horror adjacent,
Yes.
but not all of them have to be. And I thought that's kind of cool. And like I said, especially with that because it's being that it's it's not just catering to a certain thing. And like I said, you don't get too many. Like I said, it's cool because, like you said, at these bigger cons, they've always had, you like you said, they've always had the independent, directors. They've always had the authors, but they, like you said, they get lost in the shuffle a lot of times where, even the bigger fright reads, where he does get those celebrities, he gets, it's a handful of them, it's not very many. It wants to, he runs it as like, okay, this is, the people who are shining in this festival are primarily the authors. That's what he wants to do. It's primarily a book. That's why it's a, book festival. It's why, stuff like that. So I thought that's pretty cool, like I said, and so, it's a cool different it's a different atmosphere as far as like that kind of stuff versus like the con stuff like that, but I like it. And like I said, I like we enjoyed ourselves at the first fright reads that we went to, and the same thing with the halfway to Halloween. I thought it was just a cool atmosphere, you know what I mean? You can just go around the mall. There's, like I said, you can go and check out little things and see little
Yeah.
things and then come back around and go back in and stuff like that. If you wanted to look at some stuff, like I said, with the vendors and all that kind of stuff like that. You know what I mean? And like I said, being able to, go see some panels and people talking about their books or talking about just different things, and Harry slinging his book, so you can go by
Yeah.
and get some of his stuff. So like I
Ghostbusters.
said, it was a really cool. It was a really cool event. You know what I mean? It's just like that, and just like like I said, I know they've done it in the past, and like I said, it's just a great that not only that Harry, like you said, he's one of the good guys, and he's one of those ones where it's like, we always talk about maybe like with Kiss and stuff like that. He loves to promote. I mean, he's constantly promoting himself, but that's what you got to do, especially at the level, with the independent or the DIY, DIY kind of guys and stuff like that. You got to plug it, man. You gotta plug yourself and whore yourself out as much as you can. You got to get those people in. But like I said, he's always done it in just a cool way. You know what I mean? He's always like super super cool guy, super chill. You know what I mean? He's like, oh yeah, man, yeah, you guys want to come on down. Like it was, yeah, like I said, he basically was just like, like you said earlier, you kind of, we were planning on it, but it was just like, hey, we want you to come out and do this event, and we've already got the invitation for the event in September, and
Yeah.
we didn't even have to put in for it. So it's kind of cool that
Yeah.
that he's just like, hey man, I like what you guys do. I like how how you helping us promote, and then, like that's what I like about these, especially like when it comes to these cons. You know what I mean? Yeah, you have your bigger ones that, yeah, they don't really need the promotion. They've been around for 15, 20 years, and they get the guests that cost them probably an arm and a leg to get, but they know they're going to get an arm and a leg back from
Yeah.
ticket sales and people buying, photo ops and
VIPs.
VIPs and all that kind of stuff. They know they're going to get that. So it's like, as much, I'm not saying that, you won't see Vampire and Devil at any of those cons, because we like to
Yeah.
frequent ourselves, and hopefully, we can get our way into, some of those cons as far as media wise and what we do. But yeah, I like doing, like I said, I like doing the smaller, these more intimate ones, because it's more passionate. You enjoy yourself a lot more. It's not like it's not run like a business where you gotta go 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 constantly all the time. So yeah, so I think it's, like I said, I had a great time of this halfway. Like I said, super cool. That was about, like I said, it was our first time at that place. Like I said, I haven't been in that mall forever, so it was kind of cool to see I've been there like 2 or 3 years ago, and even when I was there was barely anything. So now there's even less things that are in there, so it's kind of cool.
Right.
But yeah, yeah, like I said, it was an awesome event, and I'm, looking forward to, hanging out with, some hookers that maybe or maybe not dead,
Yeah.
um, some some Shakespearean Kaufman actors, and then
Yeah.
maybe we'll go to that bar. What was that bar that we go drink down at? What's that place called?
The coffin bar.
No, that joke went right over the for Super Troopers. What was that bar we
What was
always
that
went to?
bar? No, no, for sure. Because yeah, Eric from Super Troopers. No,
Yeah, yeah,
I know
play
what you
against
were
Hell.
saying. I know what you were saying. I just couldn't help myself. But no, Eric from Super Troopers, from Beer Fest, from the Slam and Salmon.
Yeah, yeah. So that's gonna be cool seeing some of that. And like I said, yeah, there's gonna be some more. I know we got which was pretty cool, because when you were talking about the bed and breakfast for those guys that were playing the movie, one of the actresses in that movie was Freddy Krueger's mother, and I think it was Nightmare 4 or 5 or whichever one, where the nun, where they came. I can't remember the actress's name, but I know she's gonna be at the Fright Read, so that's gonna be, you know you're always wanting Freddy Krueger to be at that one. Well, how about the mother of Freddy Krueger?
Right. No, and it's super duper cool with that kind of stuff, because we have some other cons. This is an interesting year for us, Devil, when it comes to cons. And just what I mean by that is, like, there's an interesting run of, like, you know, actors and actresses of certain movies just spread out throughout other cons that we're doing and stuff, which I thought was funny. So, like, Harry's bringing in people from, Tromeo and Juliet. But then there's another person who's going to be at a con not far from us. So there's an opportunity to add to our Troma-ness. You know, we did our interview with the Forest Hills, director and cast, and then a very famous actress, of everybody's mom is going to be at another festival, that convention that we're going to be covering. So, we can add her to the Forest Hills DVD. It's just 2025 has just been a very unique setup, to where it was like, hey, we're bringing in these people, and then randomly, hey, oh wait, I can add to that 3 months later because this con down the road is doing that. That's just kind of a cool little thing. It was kind of like when you and I met Brandy, and of course, regardless of the status of how quality the movie is, of course, I was very excited to have her sign Dracula 2. Just for them, not long after they announced Brandy before that festival, Craig got announced for another festival, and he was also in Dracula 2. So I was like, shit, man, within, 2 months, I'm going to be able to go from one person to two people on my little Dracula DVD. I mean, that's pretty cool. So definitely love that, but it's definitely going to be a cool one. And Halfway to Halloween definitely shaped up really well. I think it was a success. It was so friendly and it was so fun. And for anybody who did hasn't done a main Fright Reads, who did Halfway to Halloween, I think it likely got them a little bit jazzy for the bigger, better, a little bit more celebbed out Fright Reads big festival in September. And I think that's going to be a really, really good time. And again, shout out to Harry again for, how he's always treating us. The fact that he's also been, so courteous to our respective wives as well is really, really awesome. It's like, oh, you'll bring your ladies. I've got them too. It's just really, really cool. Totally understandable because it's a business too, where it's like, hey, you guys are the main people because it's your show. So I got you, but other people have to pay. Completely understandable. But the fact that he's extended like a plus one courtesy to us, because obviously we're doing things right and he likes what we do, definitely doesn't go unrecognized by us and definitely appreciated.
I probably just fucking got blinked out. I don't know if we're still recording. Are we still recording? Okay, yeah.
It says that we're still
Yeah, yeah.
recording.
There's fucking scammers always gotta call you. Fucking scammers. They're trying to see if my car warranty. Tell me
Right.
about my car warranty. But yeah, exactly. I mean, I love it. Like I said, and then when we're talking about the Romeo and Juliet, we got to mention that the director of Romeo and Juliet, Lloyd Kaufman, the freaking
Not
greatest.
not Ed Wood.
Not Ed Wood. Well, my like I said to him before, he's my version of Ed Wood. He's my generation's Ed Wood. But yeah, Daddy Lloyd Kaufman's gonna be there, which is gonna be pretty cool. To be able to rap it a little bit, talk to him about the stuff like that and things like that. So yeah, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I like the event. I mean, like I said, I thought it was pretty cool. Like I said, I know we talked before about maybe possibly for the next halfway of Halloween they get maybe one kind
Yeah.
of like not big celebrity, because obviously you don't want to blow your load on that, where you want to kind of go for the more of the for the big festival. But yeah, you get to bring, even like like I said, even if it was like the mom from Freddy Krueger or something like that, get her in there. I think that that could probably help out a little bit too, if you say, oh, this person's gonna be there. And like I said, I mean, people are gonna come. I think I said it's just a cool very run cool festival and stuff like that. And like I said, if you're into reading books, as we joked around that people actually still read books, I figured it's 2025, everybody's on their phones and Kindles and iPads and all that shit, that paper books would no longer exist. But apparently I am wrong. People still buy paper books and go to festivals that have book festivals. So I think it's pretty cool. So I'm like, yeah, man, hey man, I'm an old school cat. Like I said, I mean, I know people download music and stuff like that. But to me, I'd rather go to a music store and buy the CD and have the physical copy in my hand
Yeah.
versus this digital stuff. Yeah, maybe I might transfer it to my phone and have it on digital, but I'm a hands-on person, so I think it's pretty sweet that you can go into this book festival and go to Fright Reads and smell the paper.
Oh yeah. No, you're 100% right, Devil, because even walking out of the festival, that was my only suggestion that I was kind of thinking of as well. Is I was like, and again, doesn't have to be a grand slam, but I was like, for something like Fright Reads, again, because it is small and intimate, I do think it would, behoove them to have, invest in like one banger, like one or two hitters to like just to entice the crowd. Because again, you don't want to go for something over the top. Like we would all love Robert England. We would all love Kane Hodder. We would all love Lance Hendrickson. But a festival like Fright Reads is going to cause them to blow their load on that. But if do things right, you can get a couple cool guests, maybe like a Derek Mears, you know, maybe like a Tyler Main, somebody who's established and is going to get people excited, but probably doesn't come with a huge price tag because they're more niche market performers because of what they do. Maybe even somebody like a Michael Berryman, who I think would be super duper awesome, that I would love to see do the con scene, who does it, but I would love to see them do the con scene a little bit more frequently. But at the same time, you make the choices correctly. What does it really do in the big picture? Knock your $8 ticket to like maybe 13, maybe 15. I would go for that. If it's like, hey, your $8 Fright Reads ticket just became $15, but you're getting these two celebrities because of it, be like, shit, I'll pay $6 more for something like that. So that's something that I think would be like really, really cool. Because again, thanks to Fright Reads, we got to have that really cool, relationship with, Sean Whalen.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I said, and I'm looking forward to, to see, especially because it's a new building, it's a new place. I know they're gonna, I know, Harry and the team behind, Fright Reads is definitely very, excited and nervous and all this other good stuff like that because it's a new venue. You never know exactly, and it's huge and stuff like that. But I mean, like I said, I thought the last year's Fright Read and this halfway to Halloween was awesome. So I feel like this one's gonna be pretty cool. And like I said, just the bigger room, the parking is gonna be the best blessing of the event because Benfield's a cool place, but yeah, like we mentioned with Harry before, it's not the greatest place to park because you got like 20 cars in that parking lot and that's about it. So.
Yeah, dude, we were down the hill and around the corner, man.
Yep. So yeah. So see, I'm looking forward to that. Like I said, and hopefully, like I said, maybe I'm assuming, like I said, as well as the halfway to Halloween did this time, that maybe next year, whether it's going to be in the Marley Station Mall or not, that's going to be another question because, like I said, the way that mall is dying from the couple years since I've been there. It's probably it's on its last leg. It's definitely getting
100%.
close to probably not being. So,
Yeah.
hopefully not. You know what I mean? It's a sad place where these malls and stuff like that have kind of died down now. I mean, you have like places like the Mills and things like that are kind of still up a bit. But the malls, you know what I mean? Like the kids nowadays don't understand like when mom and dad be like, "Hey, we're going to the mall," you were like, "Hell yeah, man, let's go to the mall." The mall was, there's a reason why Kevin Smith made a movie called Mallrats because the mall was the place to be.
Dude, nothing could fuck with 90s malls, man.
Yep.
Like, they were just so good, man. Like, definitely the way. But overall, Devil, absolutely, man. Great time, great experience. Thank you to Fright Reads. Thank you to Harry Carpenter. We're really looking forward to seeing you in September. We're gonna have a lot more fun. So, Fangs and Infernos, we're gonna sign off when it comes to our review of Fright Reads Book Festival halfway to Halloween. Absolutely fantastic. Great time, just great people, great environment. Definitely check it out. Definitely support. Definitely get your bookworm on. So make sure that you guys, of course, support Fright Reads on all of their socials and support Harry for doing such a great job and looking out for the fans and making it just an all around good time and a great experience. If you like what we do, which we know you do because you're watching, make sure you're following us on all of our socials. Make sure you're going to the Vampire and Devil Podcast Instagram and following that, as well as the Facebook page. And smash that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. So when we put up all of our new content and all of our new episodes, you know about it right away. You can follow us, like I said, on the socials, but also make sure that you're showing love to some of our spooky and spectacular partners and sponsors of the Vampire and Devil podcast. We really, really appreciate them. You're into your hot stuff like the devil. You've got Coney Island Sorcery. You're into like your spooky decor. You've got Twisted Vines. And of course, if you are into spilling the tea, brutalities. But if you also like us, rock us, as in rock and horror apparel. It's exclusively where you can get Vampire and Devil merch. Our friends Mark and Lizzie did a fantastic job doing that. So go right to rockandhorror.com, look for the Vampire and Devil collab on the left-hand side toolbar down at the bottom, and we are right there with all of the great merch that we offer, from t-shirts to hats to hoodies and tanks, all that great stuff. But we will be coming back at you soon enough, our beloved Fangs and Infernos. Horns up. Fangs out. Fangs and Infernos. It's Frightreads. We're back with a V&D alumnus, our good friend, the Ringmaster himself. Got a lot of fun things that we're going to talk about again, and stay tuned because there's absolutely going to be a full-on episode where we're really going to get to go into everything. But again, you guys know that we had Harry on the show, so again, first and foremost, thank you to Harry Carpenter and all of Frightreads for having us out. So we really appreciate it. But our good friend Chris O'Brocki is joining us again, man. What's up, brother? It's always great to see you.
It is always a pleasure to be here. I'm happy I get to pop in here again at halfway to Halloween.
Absolutely. And Devil actually made a good point, which is actually kind of funny. So when we originally did our first interview, we were talking about Shriek Show, but we were really kind of letting everybody know that Crackoon was coming out.
Yes.
Now Crackoon is out, but you're actually here promoting an early showing of Shriek Show that you had at the theater this morning.
Yes, it kind of like came back around here.
So since we did get to talk a little bit about Crackoon, we'll get back over to that, but let's talk about Shriek Show again and refresh all the Fangs and Infernos about Shriek Show, a little bit about what it's about, and how the boss man is always in charge.
So for those who haven't seen Shriek Show, which you should have by now, just saying.
Buy a DVD, check it out on Tubi.
Exactly. You all have no excuses whatsoever, so get on it. But anyway, for those who have not seen it, Shriek Show is about four friends that decide to go to an abandoned fairground on Halloween night. And they discover it's not necessarily abandoned, and they run into this guy right here, the Ringmaster, and he proceeds to tell them these stories, these tales of terror that, ironically, unknowing to our characters, are interconnected to them in reality. So if you're a big fan of Creep Show and Trick or Treat and everything, it's a lot of that's in there.
No, yeah, tell everybody who plays that sexy motherfucker.
Well, that is played by this actor right here, Chris O'Brocki, which, that's the same person here.
Oh, shit. That's you?
They go, oh, shit.
Man.
With the makeup. And you also mentioned that there's another one that we're looking to potentially get in there.
Early stages,
it's in the early conversations.
We are very carefully crafting the Ringmaster's return. The movie kind of is starting to gain a bit of a following, and we've just gotten such great feedback on this character. And they were like, everybody's like, we want more of him. We want to see him again. And so I'm like, it's coming. It's just we were going about this carefully this time.
Absolutely, for sure. Devil, you want to take Mr. O'Brocki the direction of the drugs?
Oh, yeah, that's what just goes. I was going to tell you, like, with that character, with this one, which character do you think you liked better? The Ringmaster or your character in Crackoon, who is iconically into drugs?
I mean, not to be biased, but the Ringmaster is my favorite role I've ever played. I've said this before in other interviews. It's just, I've played a villain before, but, and that was the previous experience of me playing a villain. It was a little more up here, but like the Ringmaster is just like, it gave me the opportunity to really like go all the way down here and like really tap into that dark evil that not too many people are afraid to tap into. And I know it doesn't really seem like it on screen when we see him, but it's all in his eyes. Like even, one of the characters says like, there's something not right about him. It's his eyes. And so when we do see the Ringmaster's inevitable return, we're going to really see what he can do. And like, this was only just scratching the surface here. Like, this is a truly dark, evil presence that I feel the world needs to experience. So.
Oh, yeah. But, with that and stuff like that, speaking of the Crackoon, what was the motivation of your character in Crackoon? Because to me, I mean, I love that movie. It's pure genius of underground craziness, you
Yes.
know, and just absurdness, like
Absurdity.
in the
Yes.
same, like, you know, realm of, if you like things killing and, you know, rubber turkeys,
Yes.
you're gonna love
this.
you're gonna love Raccoon. But your character is like such a weird dimensional character because he's drug dealer, gangster, maybe homosexual,
No,
but
there is no maybe.
maybe
It's like
definitely, yeah,
1000%.
definitely, you know, and it's to the point where you love him the whole entire time.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, spoiler alert, he doesn't last too long in the movie. So, what was the motivation, or like just the funness of playing that kind of character?
You know, that was one of the biggest feedbacks we've gotten on the movie since it's come out. It's just like, you needed to be, we wanted more of you within this. So, and I will say I do kind of regret it now, like being not in the movie the whole time. But you know, lesson learned. I'm to be what is it, Sean Bean, and put something in a contract that says like, okay, we need to stop killing him off now, and
The no-kill clause.
the no-kill clause. But you know, the idea of Denny, once I got the script, and I saw what the character was, the big main inspiration was James Franco and Spring Breakers.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly who I thought of. Yeah, exactly. And it's crazy too, because like I said, in this movie, of course, with the devil, we love him. I love my skin and my sin. And you got Jess in there that's half naked, who's probably maybe the best character, only because of her nakedness. Definitely the second best character in that movie. So they need to do Raccoon 2 and figure reason to bring Denny back somehow. Like, maybe, I don't know, we'll figure out a way to bring him back.
Vampcoon or something
Or something like that. You know, it's got to be in the drugs, you know, that he was doing.
Right.
You can't take him down. And then, you know,
once you do Denny's crack, there's no going
back. Yeah, exactly with that. But then, you know, we're going to also talk about, because a couple times we've talked to you about it, and I know that you're really passionate about it, so we want to definitely ask you more about it. But talk about doing like people don't know, you know, you do a lot of merman stuff.
Yes.
And, you know, just being, I think it's an art form that doesn't get the acknowledgement and the love that needs to be, because people just think, oh, it's just people swimming in an outfit, and it's a lot of physical, and just to be able to, you know, hold your breath and just to be able to do it. So talk about, you know, how you got into that and your love of, yes, they're called merman.
Well, it's just, you know, when I see people that they think they're these big experts and know-it-alls on swimming in a tail and everything, it's like, all right, well, I invite you to come to my house. We'll go to the pool, and you can put on my 40-pound silicone tail, and let's see how much of a know-it-all you are then. Yeah. And let's see how long you can hold your breath. Because, you know, as you said, you're right. There's a whole physical other mentality that goes into this business. And, you know, I'm 12 years in now. So, like, I started back in 2013, and the term professional merman was not even a thing. Like, not even a blip on the radar at the time. So, and I mean, there were mermen out there, but there weren't any doing the things that I thought could be achievable for a male representative in that business. That's a mostly female-dominated business, which, no offense to my mermaids, I love all my mermaids, and I 100,000% support every one of them. So, but it's just, you know, as a male representative, you know, you want to bring a little something extra to the table and show the world, like, hey, I can do this too, and I want you to show you that you can do this too. You know, if you're passionate about the ocean, if you want to fight to be a voice for our animals that can't speak, you know, get out there and just do it. Just like, don't think about it anymore. Just do it. Do your homework. Do your homework, for God's sake. Don't put all your expenses in an expensive tail and then get into it and decide, oh, this isn't for me. I can't do this. I can't swim in this. No, do your homework, practice, build up, go to the pool. You know, you want to get into conservation, look at local conservation, and, you know, how you can step in there. You want to do birthday parties? Great. Just think about what rates you want to do, and, you know, just create that image for yourself. And the advice that the wonderful Miss Adrienne Barbeau gave me at the start of my acting career almost 20 years ago, it's promote the shit out of yourself.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Because, like I said, especially when it comes to that, you know, it's like a lot of times, like, you know, when you see like the professional Olympics, like the swim dancers and all that kind of stuff. People always go, oh yeah, that takes a lot of hard work to keep yourself like not touching not touch the bottom of the pool at all.
Yeah, the synchronized swimming.
Synchronized swimming and all that. And like I said, just put on shoes and try to swim.
Yeah.
And see how hard it is. Now imagine, like you said, imagine putting a 40-pound tail.
Yeah.
Like it's insane. Like like I said, it's an art form. Yeah. I know that it's predominantly is a female thing, but then again, like we've joked around before, how do you think mermaids are made? You need a merman and a merwoman.
You know?
Exactly.
So there's got to be mermans out there too.
Chris, who would you say is your favorite cinematic mermaid?
My favorite, absolutely, Daryl Hannah and Splash.
Oh hell yeah!
Hands down.
Nice.
She, it was the first mermaid or the first like mainstream mermaid I was ever introduced to when I was a kid, and I just remember just being so just blown away as a child. Like, wow, this is the most. And to this day, out of all the mermaid movies that have come after, like that is the most realistic looking mermaid tail out there.
Oh yeah.
I'm a big fan of Regina Benali, and I forget the other actress's name, but the two mermaids that rescued Robin Williams in Hook.
Yes, classic.
I'm a big fan
Classic
of them.
moment.
Because also the way it was shot, obviously, with the whole Netherland thing, like those colors are so bright from the hair to the fins.
Right,
like,
it's a whole complete look.
Yeah.
And that's how Daryl Hannah's look was too in Splash, like head to toe.
Yeah.
Even her skin, they put a reflective paint on her, so like once she was in the water, like that's mermaid form.
Yeah.
And Chris, you mentioned before when you talked to Adrian when you were getting started in acting. So when you look back at it currently, where you go from clowns to MILFs to crazy circuses to crazy coons, how have you seen yourself, in the long run, from, performing, learning, skill set?
I look back, like I'm coming up next year, I will be my 20th anniversary in the film business, believe it or not. And I just look back and I remember like being on set when I did Step Up. It was my first movie ever, and I just remember just the joy and excitement of just stepping onto that set and seeing all the trailers and all the big set lights and everything. I was just like, wow, here I am. I've arrived. Let's see what happens. Let's see where this goes. And here we are. I got to say, I am a guest here at this event, and it's been a very wild ride. But I also am looking to kind of branch out of horror a little bit. I mean, horror is always 1,000% home base, but I would love to do. I'd love to do a sci-fi movie. I would love to do a mermaid movie. And actually, my dream role is I would love to do a biopic of a rags to riches country western singer.
Oh,
Okay.
nice.
Yeah, a lot of people, when I say that, they're like, "Really? That?" Because I'm a huge fan of the movie Coal Miner's Daughter with Sissy Spacek.
I love Sissy
It's
Spacek.
just
Cool.
And my family grew up where Loretta Lynn, close by, grew up, and it's been a big fan favorite of mine ever since I was a little kid, and I grew up with her music, and so I would love to play something like that.
Yeah,
I think that's super cool because I did, for the Fangs and Infernos that are familiar with it already, Devil and I do our own separate mini review segments where he talks about movies on his own time, and I do a set called Coffin Nails. And one of the more recent ones I did was I just watched Glenn Danzig's newest movie, which is called Death Riders in the House of Vampires, but it's a spaghetti western.
Yes.
And it's really good. Like, I went into that movie, I even said it in the review, prepared to destroy it. Look, I'm as big of a Danzig guy as you're going to find. But Veronica is not what I would call a strong movie.
Okay.
So I went into this new vampire movie with a certain amount of like, well, this is what I have already gotten from him. Let's wait and see. It was so good, and I think it also had a lot to do with the strength of cast. The late great Julian Sands was in that movie. Eli Roth was in that movie. But Devon Sawa. It was just the strength of cast. I think really helped it. Where Veronica really was that Devil's Favorite TNA style, where it was more focused on that. But anyway, it's a spaghetti western also, and it really had that old gunslinger style to it.
Well, like going back to Coal Miner's Daughter and piggybacking off what you just said, it's just like, like Sissy Spacek and Tommy Lee Jones and Beverly D'Angelo as Patsy Cline, you know, in that film. Like that's the power of a good cast.
It's not all about Carrie.
No, it's not. And they just dove so far into those roles. Like literally became those three people. And like when somebody says coal miner's daughter to me, I don't think of the real people. I don't think of the real Loretta Lynn. I think Sissy Spacek. Like that's Loretta Lynn to me.
Yeah.
That's Patsy Cline. That's Beverly D'Angelo to me. And it's just that's yeah.
Oh, Lily.
Yeah.
You know.
But speaking of you wanting to do a merman movie, maybe we could put out there in the internet and put it out in the world. They're always remaking movies.
Yeah.
And they've changed. They changed Overboard where they flipped the script and
yes.
Maybe they could do a Splash remake.
That
with a male
with
a merman.
We're going to do a Splash remake with Channing Tatum, which full circle moment. Who was in Step Up?
Yeah.
So, but they completely abandoned it. So, I mean, I'd absolutely love to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely. And one more thing as we circle around too, let's talk briefly, because again, we're looking forward to the full sit down where we can really deep dive.
Yeah.
But it's the 30-year anniversary coming up of your horror introduction. So let's talk briefly about The Curse of Michael Myers.
Oh my God. And I don't know if I ever told you guys this. I actually do have a sort of connection to Halloween 6. So we know in Halloween 6 when Jamie Lloyd escapes from Smith's Grove and we see the truck driver standing in the rain, chugging that whiskey. So actor Tom Proctor, great, wonderful guy. So he is a character in Fear of Clowns 2, which was my first horror movie. And then I would go on to play his son in the movie Bounty.
Oh, wow.
So, it's just kind of crazy that I have a little bit of a connection to the movie. And I remember I waited until the last day of filming on Bounty to where I finally asked him, I was like, Tom, I actually still call him Dad. And I'm like, it's time. I want to know. I want to know everything about Halloween 6. And he was like, well, and he pulled, as he always did with Tom Proctor is a big storyteller. I'm just saying to you guys. But he just pulled that chair up and he sat down. He was like, all right, let's take an hour to talk.
Nice.
So, but yeah, it's the big 30th anniversary. It was the first Halloween I ever saw in theaters. And, it's nice to see that it's got more of an appreciation than it did at the time. I mean, I know it's famously troubled production. There's 2 prints of the movie. I'm sorry, I will die on this hill. Theatrical cut is better.
Yep.
It is still better.
The director's cut.
It is visually dazzling to look at. It's way more exciting. Like, we're on the 6th Halloween movie, guys. I'm sorry, but the producer's cut, all he does is just stab people here and there. And, that's it. Get real.
Yeah.
So anyway,
it's like when you spend that $15 extra on the extended cut of a movie, and it's 4 more minutes.
Yeah.
It's like,
I will never still forgive them for how they treated Danielle Harris, because she is the queen just as much as Jamie Lee Curtis in the Halloween franchise. So
Devil's got your back on that one.
And as much as everybody wants to say
Mrs. Vamp.
She's dead, but you never saw her die, so therefore she's not really dead.
But it's just, I'm excited. I'm excited for the 30th anniversary. It's gonna be fun. I know I'm putting together the Halloween 6 costume now. So, and yeah, I'm trying to go out to Salt Lake City in October. So, do some location photos and all that. So we'll see how it goes.
Nice.
Absolutely, for sure. Devil, anything final from yourself, my friend?
Say just the one last thing about Halloween 6, because we got to talk about it. You take movies like that we were talking about before, where you got these actors that were in horror movies when they were younger, and now they're bigger, with Renee Zellweger not wanting Texas Chainsaw Massacre to come out because she thought it was going to ruin her career. And you got someone like Paul Rudd, who's a freaking awesome actor now. Is Marvel, got that Marvel money now.
He's got that Ghostbusters movie.
Ghostbuster money now. Who loves that movie and loves being in that franchise. And to me, like I said, whether you liked him in that movie or not, acting wise or not, he still has that iconic scene where he's trying to break through the door with the expired extinguisher, and he sees Michael for the first time, and he got that post-traumatic stress disorder, and he twitches. And I was like, dude, I don't care what anybody says. I put that as top 5 greatest moments caught on film ever. Because you really feel
you feel it.
that, oh shit, Tommy as a little kid is reoccurring
coming back.
Michael Myers again.
And
so.
he doesn't have the safety of Laurie Strode
Yep.
anymore to protect him. And
Yep.
so now he's the adult. And now he's the protector. So, and like the lighting. Can we talk about the lighting in that movie?
Oh,
for a
yeah,
minute?
absolutely.
Like, holy shit. Like, it's one of the best lit Halloween movies in the entire franchise. And it's the only one that was shot in October.
Yeah.
None of the other ones that were shot in the fall. Just that one. And it shows. Oh, it shows.
Oh, yeah.
But I also do love the fact that a lot of you've got famous actors and actresses who own their catalogs and are like, fuck yeah, I was in this.
Yeah.
And then others who loosen up the reins a bit and kind of realize that, like, horror fans, like, we're a different breed. We don't look at your career as like a plummet or a crutch. Because you did these movies for us. Like Jennifer Aniston wouldn't acknowledge Leprechaun
for
forever.
now she embraces it. She's
Yeah.
like, you know what? That was my first big thing. It's not so bad.
Yeah, and I understand the fears to a certain degree
Well, yeah, with
in,
friends
the
being
in
out
the bigger
Right.
pictures and stuff. But like, and again, I can only speak for the horror genre. Like us, like we don't judge people like that.
No.
Other people just suck, and it just kind of is the way it is. But yeah, but when you look at Jennifer Aniston, Renee Zellweger, and then all the way up to like Paul Rudd, it's like so many thumbprints on great horror movies that people don't even necessarily remember.
No.
You might revisit it and be like, is that this person or is that
Yeah.
person? And it's just kind of like, yeah,
Well, I mean,
absolutely.
look at Charlize Theron. I mean,
Well,
she's
yeah,
an
exactly.
Oscar winner. Her
Yep.
first thing was Children of the Corn 3.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I mean, even looking like directors wise, I mean, you look at like Sam Raimi, Evil Dead, doing Spider-Man
Yeah.
franchise. You got Roger Jackson, doing, Dead Alive.
Alive.
Who
Yep.
did like The Lord of the Rings, one of
Yeah.
the biggest franchises ever. Started off with a freaking movie where a guy's killing people with a freaking, lawnmower style.
Like bad
chopping people up.
taste and stuff.
Yeah,
And, like,
exactly.
all
So
those
it's fun to
crazy
see
old
like
wax
that they're
movies.
cool about these, they're cool about their roots.
Yeah.
So I always love that.
And then that's just the things that happen too.
Yeah.
Usually it's about the phone call or the contact you make at one point, and then or that script just lands on your desk. And before we let you go, Chris, say a little something to your beloved Fangs and Infernos, and a little bit about what you can tell us about 2025 coming up.
Oh gosh, 2025. I am kind of making up for things that I had planned for last year, but I had a little bit of an interesting ride in my personal life. But for 2025, I just did Creature Feature Weekend. Here we are at Frightreads, halfway to Halloween. And I'm just going to be doing a lot more Merman stuff. I'm going to be doing the final leg of my new era, Return of the Sun. So, that's what I got coming up, and celebrating the big 30 of Halloween 6 this year.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
As a horror fan.
Potential Fright Reads later this
Yes,
year.
hopefully.
Awesome.
Yeah, and with the Creature Feature on the third day, playing the witch, man, like bringing out Halloween 3 love.
Absolutely.
Halloween 3, absolutely,
Like
100%
3.
Season of the Witch for sure. Chris, thank you so
Yes,
much,
thank
brother.
you.
Love you, man.
Yes.
Always appreciate it. Fangs and Infernos. Make sure that you guys are checking out everything that's going on in the Chris O'Brockie world with Crackoon, with Shriek Show, and some potential continuations, but you're going to have to wait for the man to tell you about that and watch for those announcements. We appreciate you guys so much. He is the devil. I'm Vampire. More importantly than that, he is Chris O'Brockie. Horns up. Fangs out. Devil, my friend. Fashion. Things to wear. Possibly faces covered, but more importantly, covering up the bodies. Merch. We have that now. We are very, very excited to announce that Vampire and the Devil have partnered with our friends at Rockin' Horror Apparel. They are now taking care of the actual merch, the exclusive merch for the Vampire and Devil podcast, modeled by our very sexy devil right here.
Oh, yeah.
But we have all kinds of goodies to share with you.
Got the hoodies. We got some shirts. We got some tanks coming up. We got some booty shorts. We got all the stuff you want to wear from the Vampire and Devil podcast, thanks to Rockin' Horror.
Horns up. Fangs out.